So good morning or Shama, good evening to you. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dr. Atul Teckchandani. Students will call me Dr. Atul, Dr. T, Atul, any of those are fine. I am a professor in the College of Business and Economics in the Entrepreneurship program, and I'm also the entrepreneur in residence for the College of Engineering and Computer Science, where I work with folks in ECS to develop their entrepreneurial thinking skills. So I believe we have some representation from both of those worlds today, and all of you are welcome to apply. I'm realizing I should probably share one more thing with you all. I want to share with you the flyer for the fast pitch competition as well, so you have that full flyer. So give me a moment to drop that into chat. All right, so the goal of today is this competition is coming quickly. The deadline is the 15th to submit your video pitch. So what we want to do is give you some guidance on how you can craft that pitch, talk a little bit about the competition and the guidelines of that, but most importantly, because this is designed as a boot camp, kind of give you some tips on how do you create that pitch? What are some best practices? And time permitting, we may even try some of those things out. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. We're going to start with just talking about the competition and how it's structured. Focus most of our time today on how to create an effective elevator pitch, and then wrap up with a few more rules and a little bit about the judging criteria. So the competition has three tracks. There's a middle school track, a high school track, and a college university track. And you are welcome to participate in whichever one you fit into, right? So if you're a middle schooler, you participate in that. If you're a high schooler, you participate in that. If you're an active college student, so you must be in college at the time, you can participate in that track. Um, to enter the competition, you are going to prepare and record a 90-second pitch of your product and or service. And that there are instructions on the website for how to upload that pitch. And in terms of why you should participate, it's always nice to win some money. So there are scholarships available. I'll mention the scholarship amounts in just a moment. But more importantly, the idea of doing a pitch has become more and more important in our lives because we're all busy. People aren't giving us a lot of time. If you have something you want to say, if you can communicate that in a succinct way, that goes to your advantage, right? And the idea for an elevator pitch kind of came with this um, maybe fictitious notion that if you got into an elevator with me, could you tell me about your idea during the short time that we're going up 5 floors? By the end of it, I want to hear more. Right? That's kind of where the term came out. But the general and that's kind of maybe not always so realistic, but the idea of being able to communicate in a succinct, brief way, but still get your point across is really, really important. So that's what these types of competitions help us with. I mentioned there's opportunity to win prize money. So this is the university track, the prizes. So first place will get a $3,000 scholarship. Second place will get a $2,000 scholarship. Third place, 1,500, and fourth place, 1,000. And then all of these winners will receive a residency at the startup incubator. So we have an incubator is a program where they will work with you and your co-founders to take your idea to the next level. And they provide guidance, they provide mentorship, they provide experts and access to that and tools and things like that. So basically trying to support you to get to the next level. So all of the top four winners have the opportunity to be a part of that program. We call our competition a fast pitch, but essentially it is the elevator pitch that I just talked about a moment ago. So a very brief version of your business plan. You have 90 seconds max. So typically that means you're going to spend about 60 to 90 seconds doing it, which translates to about 100 to 150 words when you're writing down your script. And as I said a moment ago, these are important because people are busy and you're competing for their attention. So can you communicate something in a very concise way and still be effective, still be powerful? The theme for the competition is social enterprise. So if you can touch how your solution addresses social issues, that's a plus. It's not a must-have. So if you cannot do that, it doesn't mean you should not apply. It doesn't mean that your your chances are less, but it's something that connects you with the theme. So it would be nice if you're able to do that. All right. So going back to this, so the goals of an elevator pitch are to get the listener's attention, convince them that there's mutual benefit. So if we go back to the idea of an elevator pitch, it's one person is the entrepreneur, the other is the investor. You're trying to convince the investor to want to know more about the idea and hopefully eventually invest in it. And then also set the stage for follow-up because deals are not going to happen in a 30-second elevator ride or 60-second elevator ride. But if it could lead to follow-up, that's a win. Now, when we do the competition, you're not going to do a follow-up, right? Because you're recording a video. There's not a person on the other end. There's not a back and forth interaction. It's really a one-way. So the scripts I'm going to give you are going to take that goal out of the picture. So you're going to wrap up. If you and I were in person, and you were the big time venture capitalist and I was the entrepreneur, I might want to end with, well, is it possible for us to set up a time to meet? Or I would love to share more of my business plan with you or show you a demo. Would that be something of interest? You would end in that way. But to do that in a video that you're recording that is being watched by somebody somewhere it doesn't feel right. So we're going to suggest a different type of ending. I just wanted to make that clear to you all so you can distinguish what is an elevator pitch in real life and what is the modification I need to make for this particular competition. Felix, you're asking if our idea has an application of social enterprise. Can we mention that? Yeah, you should. So if there's an opportunity that the product, one of the things it can do is help with certain social issues, highlighting that is a good thing. Now, broadly speaking, what is your pitch trying to do? In again, 60 to 90 seconds, you need to communicate what is the problem you're solving. So the thing you're creating, what is the problem it's solving? What is it? What are the key features it offers? Who is it solving a problem for? Who's your customer? How large of a market is it? How does your solution compare to what's out there right now? It could be better. In what ways is it better? It could be faster. So whatever it is your solution does, it does it a lot faster than what's out there right now. Or it could do so in a very cost-effective way, maybe more than one of these things. You want to take some time to highlight that. You want to highlight the team that's building it because anyone can say they have an amazing product, but it's not always easy to actually create that product. Do you have the right team in place to do that? And then if this is something you are working on, sharing the current status is helpful. So if you already have a beta that you've launched or you're about to launch, that's good to know. If you've already started working with partners to maybe manufacture this, that's good to know, right? It shows traction. It shows that this is just not a hypothetical, but this is something you're actually working on. Right? And again, that's optional because not everybody has that. Now, in the handout, there are 3 templates that I've given you to help you brainstorm your pitch. It is not my recommendation that you fill in the blanks and that is the pitch that you record because these are common templates. Everyone's going to know exactly what you're doing. But it helps you when you figure out what the blanks are and you kind of look at this and then you do it again for the second template and the third template. It'll give you a sense of how am I going to share this knowledge? What are the different ways I can do it? And then you craft one of your own. So this one really comes from marketing. It's called a positioning statement. And again, just going to fill in the blanks. So for blank customer who has this problem, our solution does blank, and it provides these capabilities. Unlike the competition, our solution is differentiated in this way. Okay, so for example, um, we could use this pitch to talk about the following product. I'm gonna give you an actual pitch. For first-time international travelers who are struggling to figure out all that they need to do before they get on the plane, our solution is an app that provides you with an accurate information on everything you need to know, the shots you need, whether you need a visa, what clothes you should pack, what phrases you should know in the local language, how many bags your airline allows, and so on. Unlike most travel websites, which don't offer customized information, or Google searches would often send you to scammy websites that are looking to steal your identity, our app offers accurate information to make sure you get to your destination safely. Okay. So this was a pitch from idea that came out of my class some years ago. They wanted to create an app that gave people accurate travel information. Because as you probably heard in the pitch, if you look for it on your own, you don't always get the best info. It's not always accurate, especially when you're looking at things like passports and visa. There's all these other sites out there. If you go on there and you start putting in your information, they're going to steal your identity, right? It's hard to know exactly what is part of your trip. So they wanted to solve that problem through an app. Felix, you asked a couple more questions here. If you have a live website, can we mention it? Absolutely. That's exactly what you should mention in the current status field. Same if you have paying customers. So whatever you have that makes this real or is something that you've made some progress on to make it real, you should highlight that. Paying customers, a website, a beta, even if you're working towards a beta and you said we anticipate having one in the next few weeks, all of those things are worth highlighting. Here's another template. So this is kind of a what if template, and it presents similar information, but in a different way. So it's asking a lot of questions. What if you could do blank so that this goal is possible? Um, for example, and then that's not all. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. So what if we could have fresh produce available on demand on site so that we can offer locally grown organic fruits and vegetables to our employees and role model sustainability? For example, we could have fresh strawberries, tomatoes, and cucumbers right from our own garden on our roof for snacking or for employees to take home. And that's not all. The group that manages this garden hires at-risk youth and encourages employees to take an active part in caring for the garden, serving as mentors. So we'd be helping the community and establishing important relationships that benefit us all. So that could be a pitch for some sort of a nonprofit that is looking to build community gardens in their community and working with some of the organizations in the community. A third pitch template that you have in your handout is, I call it the almost real template. Again, bunch of blanks. This one sounds a little bit more like some of the pitches you tend to hear. So it starts with some sort of a question, like, have you ever found yourself in this situation? Our company makes this product for this customer so they can have these benefits. Unlike the competition, our solution is better, faster, cheaper in these ways. So for example, one of the products that came out of one of my classes was let me see, I will read the pitch to you here. Have you ever found yourself without time to make a healthy breakfast in the morning? Our company, OAT Solutions, makes the Oat Pot, a pot that allows you to make cold oatmeal with all the toppings you like, the fruits and the nuts and so on, for working professionals so they can start their day off right with a healthy and nutritious breakfast. Unlike traditional solutions, which simply involve putting all the ingredients in a single serving jar and letting it sit overnight, our solution has separate compartments to separate the things that affect the flavor of your oatmeal, like the fruit, from the things that are best not brought into contact with the oatmeal until it's ready to be eaten, like the nuts. Okay, let's keep going then. So I mentioned earlier you have about 90 seconds. How should you break down that 90 seconds? Here's a recommendation for you. You spend about 20 to 30 seconds talking about the problem you're solving. It's really important to do that because if you can't convince the person on the other side that this is an important problem, they're not going to listen to anything else. Once you've done that, then you can talk about what it is that you're creating. What is your solution? How is it better? Who's the customer? How many of them are there, and so on. Then you can discuss your team and then the current status. But as you can see here, if it's a 90-second pitch, you're spending almost a third of your time talking about the problem and making an argument for why this is a problem that needs to be solved. And then you're spending another third of your pitch talking about how you're going to solve it. And then you kind of wrap up with some additional details on why you should be the person doing this because you have assembled an amazing team because you've already made some traction in this space. The slide deck has a few elevator pitch examples. So I want to run through these with you and I want to get your thoughts on, do you think this is, what did they do well here? Where can they improve? So let me read this to you and then we'll talk about it. Everyone has a story. Few people, however, have the passion, patience, and most importantly, the time to write those stories. At Ghost Pub, a boutique ghostwriting firm, we want to focus on writing your stories for you. With services ranging from ghostwriting to book content development and even writing resources, GhostPub can turn your stories into page-turning reality. Whether you are someone who wants to write a book about your business or someone who has a great life story, or maybe someone who just has a dynamic idea for a book, GhostPub can write your stories while you wait. And it's simple. You visit our website, tell us about what you want to write, and we will pair you with an experienced author. Think of us as your personal ghostwriters. Remember, the world is waiting to hear your story. Let GhostPub end that wait. What is it that they're pitching here? Okay, an automatic writing firm, right? So they're someone that will do the writing for you. And what's the problem they're trying to solve? Okay, so the people who want to tell their story don't have time to do it. So can someone else do that for them, right? Who is the customer for this?
Investors?
Well, an investor is not a customer, right? An investor is not, they're putting money into the
Because,
company, but they're not, if the company is writing something, they're not the ones purchasing that writing.
no, because we are doing a pitch to attract the customers. Sorry, to attract investors.
I'm asking for Ghost Pub, who is the customer?
Okay.
Right? Who's the customer for Ghost Pub? So Brent, you're saying anyone with a good story. Is that, what do you think about that customer? Is it a large market? Maybe too broad. But even refining it, like with busy people with story to tell, like one of the things we worry about when we look at customers is if you have a company and you have a customer, you have a marketing budget. How do you find those people? How do you find busy people and busy people with the story to tell? That becomes really hard. You can't exactly do targeted ads on social media, on Google, on billboards, in magazines, or anything like that to find those people because it's when you say busy people, that can be any demographic living anywhere. And a story to tell, that becomes even harder. How do you know someone has a story to tell, right? So this pitch has a lot of good things going for it. They have a problem, they've identified it, they have a clear solution, but when it comes to the customer, it becomes a little bit vague. Because if you can't focus on your customer, you're probably going to run out of cash before you find the customer, right? By the way, I should have mentioned earlier, these are from actual elevator pitch competitions, some at our university, some at other universities. So these are actual contestant pitches. Let's take a look at this one. So let me read it to you, and I want you to think about the same thing. What is the problem they're solving? What is the solution, and who is the customer? Let me read it to you. Hi, I'm Jordan. I've been an athlete since I was 3 years old. I never imagined that during my junior softball season at this university, I would pass out running a hill. After months of doctor's appointments, getting my blood drawn, and heart tests, finally found out that I was diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia is a top nutritional disorder in the world with no cure. 80% of the world suffers from iron deficiency anemia, and 20% of those are athletes. My company, Fairtest, has created a product that is portable and is like a glucose meter. With a small sample of blood, you can test your iron levels to see if they are low or high and work from there. Athletes from the ages of 17 to 24 are at extremely high risk as iron is lost through sweat, skin, and urine. Fairtest is a product that can help athletes continue to play the sports they enjoy so much. So what is the problem that Jordan is solving?
He was suffering from anemia,
Okay.
iron deficiency.
Okay. So
Yeah,
people are suffering
because I'm
from this.
hematologist.
Go ahead.
Because I'm a hematologist, I catch it.
And so the problem is people are suffering from this iron deficiency anemia, and a lot of times they don't even know they have it. What's the
Yes,
solution?
to making a blood test.
Okay. So
Yeah.
some
To
sort of
check
like a
the,
glucose meter test, right? That you can do,
yeah,
but not a, you want to be clear here. This is not a blood test where you go to the hospital, you get blood drawn, and then a week later they give it to you. This is something you have on you,
yeah,
right?
but
It's
he
portable,
created something. Yeah, he created something available at home.
right? So that's
Yeah,
when we talk about the solution, that's important to highlight, right?
yes.
But when you say blood test,
But
that's not
for the
what, that
hospital.
may not be
Yeah.
what someone else thinks.
Hmm.
And who's the customer?
All the ages, teenagers between 17 to 24,
Okay.
young
So they're
athletes.
targeting young athletes, right?
Yeah,
So in compared to the last pitch we heard, this one is it hits a lot more of those boxes. Is there something that you feel like it could improve upon? What could they improve upon? What's
he
the
can,
issue with fair test?
can compare the result. No, I mean he can compare the result with this device comparing with the result in the hospital to be
And
accurate about the result.
why do you need to compare the result that you get using fair test with the result you get at the hospital?
To be sure about the result.
Okay. What is so that's solving a very different problem, right? That's saying if you have to do that, then why do I use this product at all if it's not accurate?
Yeah, but for me, if I'm using this device, I have to be sure and comparing the result with the blood test in the hospital.
Why? What if they give you evidence that this is just as accurate that anything you're going to get at the hospital? Why would you still need to do that?
خلاص, okay, I will not do this. It's fine. I will
No,
not do this.
I'm asking because you're suggesting a different
Mm,
solution than what they're
yeah.
suggesting, but you're also suggesting things that may or may not be true, right? And it may be the improvement is that this pitch should also talk about how accurate this test is,
Yeah, sure. Like
right?
the blood glucose device at home, we are providing for all diabetes patient,
Right.
but
And those
also
people
we,
don't go to the hospital to double check their tests, right?
yeah, sure. Yeah,
So,
because we already putting like 22%, right? 2% up or down, you
right.
know?
So
Yeah.
maybe that's an improvement, right? Maybe
Yes.
this there could be an extra sentence in this pitch about how accurate this is. Um,
Yeah.
Brent, you had another idea was after testing the iron levels, what do we do? And it doesn't really elaborate. So maybe another thing could be, well, we also give you maybe it's something like, oh, we also have an app where you put in your numbers and then it tells you what to do,
Yes.
right? Because if you're really trying to, this person starts off with like, I passed out running a hill. Um, what if they had this thing and it showed that their iron levels were low, what were they supposed to do? Not run that hill? Go home, drink a Gatorade, like take a nap? Like that's a good question. It doesn't say. So it
Mhm.
feels like they're only partially solving the problem, but there's an with just a little more information, they could convey that they're completely solving the problem, right?
Sure.
So wonderful ideas. Here's another one. When your shoes wear out, you get some new ones. But when your body's joints wear out, no drug treatment can bring them back. So what can you do? Stem cells can regenerate your joints. I'm John Chi at Sonova Life Sciences. Our mobile stem cell processing cart makes it possible for the 27 million Americans who are spending $185 billion a year on arthritis treatments to get treated with their own stem cells by their own doctors. Doctors with Sonova can offer stem cell services without taking on any initial overhead, costs, or staff. We bill patients directly and then revenue share with the doctors. Our go-to-market strategy covers customer education, thought leaders, direct sales, and lobbying insurers. My partners are a medical doctor and a California healthcare administrator. $700,000 gets us to market, and we're projecting 35 million in sales, 10 million in profits, and at a 10 times return on investment in year 5. What is the problem that John is trying to solve?
There is no drug treatment
For what?
for can bring their body's joints way again. They need stem cells.
Okay. So joints are, we cannot regenerate our joints. And one way
Yeah,
we can do that is through stem cells. So okay, so what is the solution then?
the stem cells can regenerate the joints.
No, what is the solution he's giving and his company's giving? Okay, mobile stem cell processing cart, right? So how do we, if stem cells can regenerate your joints, what do we do with that? How do we get them? How do we put them back in your body? What needs to happen? Do we just take them out and stick them back in, or do we have to process them a certain way? That he's creating what he calls a cart to do all of those things. right? That's the product. If you're the investor, that's what your money is going to pay for, is going to build that cart, to test that cart, to try to sell that cart to doctors, right? And Joanne, as you said, the way they're trying to do it is any doctor can offer this service. This can be kind of an add-on that they do. And all they need is this cart and some training, and they can offer this service of being able to regenerate your joints through by using your stem cells. What do you think this pitch does well? Okay, lots of numbers indicates good research. And I'm thinking maybe you're thinking about the numbers at the top, like 27 million Americans who are spending $185 billion a year. That kind of suggests this is a really large market. There's lots of people, and this is just in the US, right? When you think about this globally, that number goes up even more. But there's a lot of money spent in this space and a lot of people who would want to benefit from this. So it's kind of, I'm going after a big market, right? That's always nice for investors to hear. Anything else that they do well?
I think they need also centers to collect the stem cells and to saving stem cell,
Why do they need a center?
to saving the stem cells because they are
Why?
collecting
So
from the babies
why do they
in
need
the
to
hospital.
collect it if they're going to get it? We don't understand the process, but there's no indication that they need to save the stem cells for later use, right?
We have to save it in future because if there is any something happen in the future, we have to back to your stem cells and start to
Eh, eh, So
yeah.
let me ask you though, what is the issue? Does the pitch not talk about the process properly? Because you're
No.
making a lot of assumptions about what they're doing. So that's what I'm trying to ask. Like if you're the investor, what
Hmm.
is it that you are you saying that this pitch is not giving me enough information as to what you're doing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So more details on what exactly happens. How does this process of taking stem cells, putting them back in work? Um,
Exactly.
and
Yes.
that it's a good point because they don't get into it. It's also something that when you do your pitches, you might struggle with because in 90 seconds, it's hard to do that. And they probably
Yes.
made some trade-offs on where do I spend my time, where do I not spend my time? And you will make those same trade-offs in your
Yes.
pitch, right? And this is an excellent follow-up question, right? Tell me how this process of stem cells being transplanted works. And
Yes.
then based on that, you could ask the question like, how come should we be keeping them? Should we, if we're gonna extract them from the body and we're gonna put some back in, can we save the rest for later? So maybe then the next time they have I don't know, you fix your left knee, but now I need to fix the right knee. We don't have to extract them again. We already have them, right? That could be a
Exactly.
second revenue source potentially, but you have to
Yes.
understand what they're doing first before
Hmm.
you propose those types of things, right? Where could they
Hmm.
improve? So Brent, you said lots of numbers, good research. Is there an area that you feel like they could do better in?
I think for them they have to focus on the hospitals and for the pediatric doctor.
So let's go back to what the pitch is. Are they are they not clear about what their who their customer is?
Yes, this is very clear.
Okay.
They didn't
But
mention about who the customer because they have to focus on the
okay. So
pediatric.
you're not sure who the customer is.
Yes, you are right.
Okay. No, I'm not. I'm asking a question. I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
asking
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So they do say our customers are doctors, right? But maybe it needs to be more precise. Is it all types of doctors? Is it pediatricians? Is it general practitioners? Is it surgeons or
Mhm.
something like that? Um,
Yes, because this will be like a bridge between the patient and the doctor. Because Doctor
Potentially.
Who will collect, yeah, because Doctor Who will collect the stem cells, and then they will give into the center to save it
So
when we
you are,
want to
if
transplant
I
it.
can stop you, you are making a lot of guesses on how this process works without asking the
Mhm.
questions on how it works,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Mm,
And that's
mm.
it. I would discourage that. So if I was the entrepreneur, you should ask me questions, but you also have to keep in mind in 90 seconds, you can't answer all those questions.
Mhm.
right? If this is a fast pitch workshop, you're asking and wanting a lot of information that is not going to be possible in 90 seconds to communicate,
Mhm.
right? So what
For
is
me, it's not.
possible?
For me, it's not more with not more details. Lack of details.
So what you're saying, you don't want more details, you want less.
No, no, no. I mean, he didn't provide more details
Right. So
about.
but the challenge is, how do you do that in 90 seconds? You have to take, this is a 90-second pitch. If you want more details, something has to come out of this pitch to make that
Mhm.
possible, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
Brent, you said something in chat about, well, it, you said we don't know if many doctors support it. So what I'm hearing from that is there's no evidence that they've actually tried this out,
Mhm.
right? So having um, some sentence that's saying, okay, there's 10 doctors in Orange County that are using this right now would elevate this pitch. Um, but there's a lot going on their side. They also talk about their team, and they clearly they have a very strong team, right? We have the technical know-how to do this. We have a doctor on our team. We have a healthcare administrator. So now I think we all know in the US the insurance system is a real big mess. Someone who can navigate that and help us understand how we're going to get paid, we have that person, right? So they have some, there's definitely things they could do better, but there's also many, many things that they're doing well in this pitch. Let's move on. Here's one more. The most widely manufactured material on the planet is concrete. On average, each person uses more than 3 tons of concrete a year. Unfortunately, concrete manufacturing processes contribute to more than 10% of the CO2 emissions worldwide. However, we have been able to develop a concrete that not only cuts the CO2 emissions by half, but also it is 5% stronger than normal concrete. Our design is unique because we have discovered how to change the very nanostructure of concrete. This approach is environmentally friendly and at the same time reduces the cost of concrete manufacturing by 40%. The US market for concrete is $100 billion a year. We're a team of 5 researchers, including 3 superstar professors at MIT, that are looking to make concrete kinder to the planet. What is the problem they're solving? Okay, concrete is bad for the planet, right? It produces a lot of emissions. Um, and how are they solving that problem? Okay, so they've created just a different way to make concrete, right? Using, as they say here, that they've changed the nanostructure of concrete, right? And they're saying that it is cheaper, right? Reduces cost by 40%. Um, it is stronger, 5 times stronger, and cuts emissions by half, right? So they've also said how much better this is than what's out there right now. Who's the customer? No, customer's not clear, right? Presumably construction companies, maybe concrete manufacturing companies, right? Because construction companies don't make the concrete, they go buy it from somebody, but they didn't say that, right? They did lots of things well. It's very clear that they have this really amazing product. They have an amazing team. This could basically reinvent concrete as we know it, right? So it could be huge in terms of what it's possible to do, which also suggests that this company could be huge, but they don't really tell you who their customers are. Just a FYI, the last pitch I shared with you about the stem cells won our competition, I think about 4 years ago. This pitch won the MIT elevator pitch competition some years ago. Right? But again, there's room for improvement. Right? Let me give you some tips for how to create your own pitch. So these are 4 pitches I've shared. All of them are strong in certain ways. All of them have some areas where they could improve upon, right? And your pitch is going to be very, very similar to that. I'm going to skip that last one here. The first tip is focus on an idea that meaningfully improves the lives of a large number of people. So it should be clear who your customer is. It should be clear that they're a relatively large base of customers and that your product is going to make their lives better. Another tip is to start your pitch with some sort of a hook. Now, your hook can come in one of 4 ways. It could be a question, it could be a provocative statement you make, it could be a surprising fact, or it could be a statement that illustrates a problem. And what I've done here on the right is some examples building off that concrete pitch. So they could have started their pitch with a question. Did you know that the emissions produced when making concrete contribute to 10% of the world's CO2 emissions? Right? Just something to really just capture you. You're like, whoa, right? That concrete in my driveway is like 1/10 of the problem with global warming. It could be a provocative statement, right? That concrete driveway in front of our houses is one of the biggest contributors of global warming. And now you're thinking like, wait, that thing is like, it's just sitting there. What do you mean it's contributing to global warming? I want to know more about what you're saying here, right? That's the whole idea of a hook. Like I heard what you said. I'm really interested in what you're going to say next. Could be a surprising fact. On average, each person uses more than 3 tons of concrete a year, making it the most widely manufactured material on the planet, right? And you and I are thinking like, what? I don't use 3 tons. What do I do with 3 tons of concrete, right? Again, I want to know more. Or a statement that illustrates a problem. The 3 tons of concrete each person uses on average per year is contributing to 10% of the 10% of the world's CO2 emissions, right? You're going to want to come up with your own hook, but these are four general categories of pretty effective hooks. A question, statement that's provocative, a surprising fact, or a statement that illustrates a problem. Tip number three is now the back end of your pitch. Close it with the statement summarizing the impact of your solution. So if you look back at some of the ones we did, the concrete one said, we are making concrete kinder to the planet. Jordan's pitch was, our products allow athletes to keep playing the sports that they love. The Ghost Pub, the first one we heard was, we are making it possible for the world to hear your story. The stem cell one said, with our company, adults with joint problems can once again live life to the fullest. Right? Something to kind of close off your pitch. Right? Again, there are templates in your handout that you can use to craft what your pitch might look like, and then now you have 2 or 3 or 4 versions just to help you get started, and then you create your real one. So Brent, you're saying, are we making a true pitch based on something we're working on or fictional? So for this competition, it can be fictional, but you don't want to you you want to be careful. You don't want to make up people on your team, for example. But the thing you're pitching could be fictional. It helps though that it's something you want to work on because if you think back to what we talked about earlier, if you win some prizes and you get to go into the incubator, they're going to help you make that real. So if it's something you had no intention of making real, it feels like an opportunity lost. Let me I want to make sure we wrap up on time. So I want to get into our judging criteria and what the judges are going to look for when they view your video. All right. So they're going to look at the content, something we've spent a lot of time on. So who is your market? What makes your product special? What is your value proposition? So what are you doing? What is the problem you're solving? And how are you solving that problem? What is the value you're bringing through your product? Um, is your technology compelling and can it scale? So by scaling, we mean we don't want to solve a problem for 2 people. We want to solve a problem for 2 million people. So being able to articulate who your customer is and that it's a large market you're going after will help them to assess that your product can scale. And then they're also looking at how you're making that pitch, not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it. So how articulate are you? Are you showing energy through your pitch? Are you making eye contact? Are you talking with confidence? Is your story cohesive? Right? And all of that is going to involve practice. It's going to involve maybe taking a few different shoots of video, setting up your camera so you're looking at the camera and so on, so you can convey these things through the video pitch. Some other tips, you want to speak in a straightforward manner. So some of the things that venture capitalists will tell entrepreneurs is speak so that my grandparents would get it. Speak so my 10-year-old would get it. Don't expect the listener to be an expert in your field. So you may be uh, a civil engineer, but if you start using civil engineering terms that only civil engineers understand, it's going to hurt you. You want to be able to translate that to an audience that makes sense to anybody, right? If you think back to our concrete pitch, they talked about we've changed the very nanostructure of concrete. And I don't know what that means. but I know enough to be able to say, oh, okay, they've completely redefined how concrete is, and the point got across. I'm sure that person could have used way more technical scientific terms that only he and his MIT professors understand, but they refrained from that, right? They made it accessible, and you need to do the same. The other thing you need to do is not memorize your pitch, but internalize. By internalize, I mean you have a pitch, and if you did it 5 times, you might change maybe 10 or 20% of the words, but it comes out sounding natural. Whereas memorizing, it's like I'm always saying the same words every time. And oftentimes when we memorize, we come out sounding a little bit robotic. But when we internalize, so you know what you want to say, but again, 10 or 20% of the words might change a little bit. That's okay as long as you're still getting the point across.
Yes, you are right. We have to practice more before we are going to a live.
Absolutely. And if
Yeah.
you, let me just, I guess, tell you another reason why you need to practice more, right? You're going to upload your pitches, and that's due by 11:59 on October 15th, so just 5 days away. The finalists are going to present in person on November 9th on our campus in the TSU Pavilion. So if you've practiced, you are more ready to present on stage. Not only do you need to practice for your video, but if you get selected as one of the finalists, you're going to present on stage, and you're going to get asked Q&A by the judges. You're going to get asked a lot of the questions that Shama that you were asking, right? They're going to want to know. Tell me about how the stem cell thing works. Tell me, do you need
Yeah.
to store these things? If you do, what's your plan for storing them? They're going to ask those types of questions, and you need to be prepared for that. And Brent, that kind of goes back to your question a little bit is if what you're working on is 100% fictional, it's a little bit harder to answer those questions. So it should be
Mhm.
something that you have thought about and would like to work on.
It's really hard to be honest, but some of people they are ready to do it.
Well, the other thing is you can also say I don't know. You can also say, hey, I haven't thought about that. Is it
Mhm.
okay if I talk to my team about it and we get back to you later? You don't
Yeah,
always
yeah,
have
it's
to
very
have the
nice.
answer right then and there. But at the same
Yeah.
point, you can also do some preparing. Now, because if you are
Mhm.
going to be selected as a finalist, you will get notified. So now you know, hey, I need to practice my pitch because now I'm going to present it live. But you also
Mhm.
know I'm going to get asked uh, and be involved in a Q&A session. So what might be the types of questions I'm going to get asked and what might be some ways I'd respond? Right? It's not going to come as a surprise. We're not going to take all of the contestants and on November 9th and say, hey, hey, Shama, you're finalist. Hey, Sally, you're a finalist. We're not going to do that. We're going to let you know in advance that you're a finalist that day. And that
So
this is when
making
you're going to present. So
preparation.
you'll have time to do
Yeah,
that.
very nice. And also, I
Okay.
will give all the questions that
They
expecting to
won't give
take.
you a list of questions, but
Yeah.
you can do some research. I mean, AI can help you with this. And what are common questions that investors will ask entrepreneurs? And you can come up with plans for how you might answer them.
Mhm. Amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Some competition rules to wrap us up. I mentioned some of these before. 90-second pitch is the max. The format must simulate a face-to-face pitch. So it should be one continuous take, no editing. No 15 seconds. It shows then all of a sudden another 15 seconds, another 15 seconds. You have to do the whole thing in one continuous take. Also, to mimic a real pitch, no slides, poster boards, CGI, music, screen grabs are allowed. If you have a prototype, though, you can show it. You can say, look, here's what our prototype looks like. You won't have time to demo it, but you can just say, hey, this is our current prototype, or this is a screen grab, not a screen grab. This is a mock-up of what it will look like. If you are part of a team, two of you can participate in the pitch, but no more. So it could be just one of you who does the whole pitch, or two of you who tag team to do the 90 seconds. Okay. And then finally, I mentioned we have 3 tracks, and if you're part of the middle school track, you have to be a middle school student. If you're part of the high school track, you have to be a currently enrolled high school student, and same with the college university level. Any other questions? Okay, well, if not, then I wish you all the best with your pitches, and I hope you make it to the finals.